Okay, I'm just holding the camera now. You see, we've got the hot and cold water line, and we've also got that one coming up for the handheld nozzle, the adjustable nozzle. So my main focus is on the hot and cold water line, and you never know how your connections are. This one's happened to facing down, this one's facing down at a slight angle. Yours might be facing up, they might be facing sideways. So however I'm going to have to do it, I'm going to have to arrange these long pipes in such a way to where they're going to connect on there. Okay, and that's why I think I'm going to pull this one out of the way for right now, and then do a trial run and kind of hold those up there where I want. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of get this out of the way because I know I can, right? I don't have that little nut installed yet. This plastic nut. All that is to protect this from sliding up and down. This is braided wire. If you didn't have that nut, you'd probably be okay. But that, you know, once that's on there, it just gives this sliding ability instead of you kind of rubbing on that copper pipe. Yeah, it's probably best that that's on there. Okay, and I don't have to worry about this right just yet. You know what I mean? Now I'll get down there and I'll look at those and see what I have to do. And as for that, if those gate valves were really super old, do something slightly different. These don't look that bad, and the threads look fine, and these ends already have the little washer in there. They're really designed that you don't need to have Teflon tape on your threads. Now, lots of times I stress using Teflon tape. Here's the Teflon tape. It's just this white tape, okay? Very thin, and there's a right and wrong way to put Teflon tape on. Did you know that? Yes, there is. You got to wrap it in the same direction. When you tear it off, after you have it wrapped on there, and you tear it off, it's got to be going in the same direction as your nut that you put on there. So when you're tightening your nut, it's tightening the thread, the Teflon tape onto your threads. Does that make sense? If you had that the opposite direction, yeah, you'll still get the nut on there, but your Teflon tape is going to slide. It's going to slide the wrong way as you're trying to tighten it, the nut that way. Your Teflon tape is wanting to loosen that way, and eventually it might not hold. It's designed to go up on the other way. Now I could put that on the threads, but I don't think I'm going to. There was nothing on the old one. The old one was not leaking. As long as you make these nice and snug as a bug in a rug, you should be fine without using the Teflon tape. If you feel more comfortable putting the Teflon tape on, if that was old, and I was going to use it somewhere, it looked all rusty and stuff, I would put the Teflon tape on there. If I end up using this, maybe I'm going to use this faucet somewhere else because we determined it wasn't really leaking anywhere other than around the rubber gasket and around this. I could put some pipe dope on there. I could put some white caulking on there. I could re-caulk it after it was installed. If I was going to do something like that and I was using these old ones, and because like right now, I would put the Teflon tape on there. And don't kid yourself. Here's the other thing. If you're going to end up thinking you're going to use this for something later on, and you leave it sitting in the garage for a couple months, you think, oh yeah, I'll put that on so-and-so's kitchen faucet when I need it in 6 months down the road. You go and do it. Could it possibly leak? Yeah, it could possibly leak because the little gasket in there is pliable right now, and it's rubber. And can you see if it dries out and the rubber gasket gets hard as a rock, and when you put it back on, it might leak. Okay, another reason why if I were to ever use that one again, I'd probably use Teflon tape. Okay, so you choose what you're going to do, and I know this one here had said hot. It says hot on there, see? Hot side. And the hot water side is over there. Cold water side is usually on the right. Now, what I could have done before I shut the sink off, if your faucet is still running, before you take it off, run it right to left. You should know. You should know, because if they were mixed up, sometimes plumbers will mix them up, believe it or not. I've had a couple where I would turn the hot water side on a bathroom sink and the cold water would come on, vice versa, and it's because they flip-flop those, and the guy who installed it, oh yeah, well, you know, when we hook up the sink faucet, we'll know that on this one in the right-hand corner, the guest bathroom, I'll tell the flunky, whoever installs it, I'll tell him, my helper, that they have to flip-flop the pipes when they go to it, that the hot's going to be over here and the cold's going to be over here, and then they forget to do it, and they ask somebody, hey, did you get that all installed? Yep, it's all done. Okay, fine. The inspector doesn't care what you've done, and the next person who uses the sink faucet, they're switched, and you've got to mess around with it. But I'm going to make sure this is, I'm going to make the assumption that side's the hot side. I'm pretty sure it is. Or my aunt would have said something. You would know one way or another, if this is your sink, which side it's going to be. Okay, and so I'm going to have to get under there and contour this. And these are stiff, and believe it or not, you can make them work. Okay, and I'm going to have to see what I have to do with them. You could actually make a whole loop-de-loo on it if this was facing up, because you'd have to take the new pipes and then have them go up and down and around. So these, you'd think, oh man, this is stiff. Is it gonna bend like that? You don't want to put a kink in it, obviously, but you can make tight curves in them and stuff like that. Okay, so I'm gonna have to do that and then look and see how that's going to work. Maybe screw them on there, look at it, see if they need to be done a different way, so that they don't get in the way of the weight, you know, for this when I put this on. Okay, all right, that's my next step. I'm just going to put these on, and I've got to make sure these are fine threads, and you want to make sure you put them on there that you can do them finger tight. You don't want to get it started and think, okay, yeah, I can't tighten it anymore. I'll just get my wrench out and start turning. You turn it and turn it and turn it, and all you're doing is stripping the threads. You're cross-threading it because you don't have it on there nice and straight. And it might take me a little bit to move it just a little bit more and make sure it's going at the exact angle. See, this one's going down at a little bit of an angle. This one's going down a little bit more of an angle. So I just have to be aware of that when I put those on there. I want to get them on. If you can't start twisting that with your fingers, you don't have it on there nice and straight. Okay, make sure it's nice and straight. Finger tighten it first. Okay, before you start tightening it down with a crescent wrench. And like I say, I'm just going to do it hand tight for right now. Make sure they're going in there so I can see if it's okay to put this. If not, I may have to do a different loop on there, or know that, okay, after I do that, maybe I take a little tie wire or zip tie or something and pull them over one direction or another or something like that. Last thing you want is for your weight, your new weight that goes on here, to hit anything underneath the sink. Okay, very important. Now these went nice and easy. Kaboom, kaboom, and that looks good. Now see, before I put the cover on, if I had to put this over like that, I could do that, or it can be like that. I could put a little zip tie down here at the bottom. These pieces, if I push them back when I put the cover on here, and if I face it to the left or right, if I put this on to the left, you know, straight across, that'll keep this from pooching out later on. I could do the same thing over there, but this one looks like if I put it to the left, see, I might do that. There's enough flex on there, and I can put the cover on there on the valve and put it from left to right. That'll keep that from sliding out. This one will keep this one from sliding. This will keep this from sliding. I think that's fine, like that. Do you see what I mean? Every sink is slightly different, okay? Here's where this thing's gonna clip in. I've got that. That can be kind of positioned however, okay? And I think I'm, because of that, before I put the handle covers on, I call the handle covers. I don't know if you saw me. I don't think you saw me take those off. These are my covers to the hot and cold water line. I'll put those on going from left to right, left to right. Tighten those down. But before I put those, because I pulled them off, now I can take my crescent wrench carefully and tighten those two nuts down. Can you see that makes it easier to tighten those nuts down without the covers on the gate valves, the water valves? You see what I mean? And so I'm going to hold those carefully because those aren't copper pipes. That's a plastic pipe and a plastic pipe. These are springy a little bit, so I'm going to kind of hold that while I tighten that nut. And it's very important to just tighten those snug as a bug in a rug. Don't try to over tighten them. If you over tighten them, you could screw up the threads. I've done it before. I've done it before, and I'm like, what is going on? Maybe I can make it a little tighter, and then it was leaking. Maybe I can tighten it up a little bit more, and it was leaking more. And for the life of me, I could not get it. I had to run back to the store and get an extension piece, put it back together, and retighten it, put Teflon tape on there, hold my mouth just right, pray, and do a little jig, and it's still holding to this day as far as I know. Okay, so now I'm going to tighten up those two nuts snug as a bug in a rug. Now trust me when I say snug, I don't mean over tighten. This wrench, I could over tighten those nuts. I could over tighten those nuts if I wanted without realizing it. The tighter the better. No, you want it snug and just a little bit extra oomph, and that's it. And I'm going to leave it about where I think it needs to be, okay? And worst case scenario, after I turn the water back on and all that kind of stuff, if it's just barely dripping from there, then I can come down here and put my wrench on there and go a 1/16 of a turn, let's say, and that's it. And then try it again. If it's still leaking, 1/16 of a turn, that's it. And if it's still leaking, it might mean you cross-threaded something. It might mean that your threads are so old it's not gonna stop leaking unless you put Teflon tape on there. Okay, and then try it again, and all that kind of stuff. But I got it pretty good. I feel pretty confident it's not going to leak. And I'll flop this back. I'll flop that back over before I put the handles back on. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the handles on now, and that will be my next step.